Bermuda Triangle, called even Devil's Triangle, Hurricane Alley, Graveyard of the Atlantic, Limbo of the Lost, etc., is located between Florida, Puerto Rico, and Bermuda Island. In this 500,000 miles square, over 8,000 souls have been lost, more than 300 ships and over 75 aircraft have been disappeared to never be seen again. The stories around Bermuda have been started since the Christopher Columbus days, and even nowadays vessels and planes keep disappearing in this area. Let's go through years, and see some of the most baffling disappearances on Bermuda Triangle. The mysterious stories about Bermuda Triangle have been mentioned since the Columbus days. On 14th of September, Christopher Columbus was astonished to find that the magnetic needle in their compass did not point exactly to the polar star, but varied toward the west, and as they proceeded, this variation increased. And the next day, he and his crew also saw a bright disc-shaped object rise out of the ocean and fly into the sky. The faraway flash was so small a body that he could not affirm it to be land, Columbus wrote, referring to himself in the third person. On the night of October 11, 1492, Christopher Columbus saw a glimmer in the distance as he stood on the deck of the Santa Maria, just days before the landing at Guanahani. All this detail made many people think for paranormal solutions such, mystical sea creatures, aliens theories, time portals etc. But the truth is that experts will never know exactly what Columbus saw on the next to last day of his voyage to the Americas. Pickering was permanently transferred to the Navy on May 20, 1799, and redesignated USS Pickering. Pickering departed from Boston on June 10, 1800. Ordered to join Commodore Thomas Truxton's squadron on the Guadalupe station in the West Indies, she sailed from Newcastle, Delaware on August 20, and was never heard from again. 90 souls were lost in this tragedy. She is presumed to have been lost with all hands in a gale in September, but this was never proven. The exact cause of the cutter's disappearance remains a mystery. USS Wasp was a sloop of war that served in the United States Navy in 1814 during the War of 1812. She was the fifth United States Navy ship to carry that name. She carried out 2 successful raiding voyages against British trade during the summer of 1814, in the course of which she fought and defeated 3 British warships. On October 9, 1814, USS Wasp reported that she was headed for the Caribbean with 140 people on board, but vanished without a trace. USS Wildcat was a 2-mast schooner of 48 tons and was part of a naval fleet, the West Indies Squadron, that sailed to the Caribbean to subdue the occurrence of pirate raids on merchant ships that had increased to almost 3,000 by the early 1820s. She was armed with 3 guns and had a crew of 31. Wildcat was commanded by Lieutenant Legari, who sailed her to Washington with a dispatch regarding the disposition of the squadron, and other matters concerning the war against piracy in the Caribbean. On October 28, 1824, Wildcat was disappeared while sailing between Cuba and Thompson's Island, West Indies. Approximately 14 people drowned. Possibly one of the most mysterious stories of shipwrecks, but the connection to the Bermuda Triangle had been somehow invoked to find an answer to the mystery of its fate. The 103-foot-long ship was found on December 4, 1872, off the coast of Portugal, days after it started its journey from New York to Genoa, Italy. There were 7 crew members along with Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife, and their 2-year-old daughter aboard the vessel, which was loaded with raw alcohol. But days after, when a passing British ship off the Azores Islands, the ship was unmanned with no crew aboard and the lifeboat was also missing. The most interesting part is that also was found that 9 of the barrels in the cargo were empty and there was a sword on the deck. No trace of the people aboard the vessel, or the missing lifeboat has ever been found. In 1881, the 210 feet long Ellen Austin was on her way to New York from London, when she stumbled upon a derelict near the Bermuda Triangle. Everything seemed fine with the unidentified schooner drifting just north of the Sargasso Sea, but there was no one on the board. The captain of the Ellen Austin observed the derelict for 2 days in order to make sure it's not a trap. After 2 days with no response from the ship, the captain and 4 members of his crew entered the abandoned vessel to find the well-packed shipment and no sign of the crew. The captain decided to tow it with Ellen Austin and to sail together. However, after 2 days of sail on calm waters, a fierce storm separated path of the 2 ships, following which the derelict vanished. Days after the storm, Captain Bakers could spot the vessel drifting far away aimlessly once again. Ellen Austin could catch up again the vessel, after some hours, but strangely, no one was on board. Once again he placed a crew on the ship to tow the vessel, and almost at the same spot where the first storm separated them, another storm made the vessel to disappear one more time. But this time, Captain Baker moved on his way and didn't try to take the cursed vessel. The disappearance of the ship, her reappearance, and the absence of the prize crew is an intriguing story. It is more like a secret of Bermuda Triangle, one that has seemingly no chances of being unraveled. The source where the story came from has ever been told. Joshua Slocum is the first man to sail solo around the world. Slocum should have never been lost at sea. He was known as a fantastic sailor. On November 14, 1909, he and his boat named the Spray vanished on a voyage from Martha's Vineyard to South America. His unexpected disappearance has since been attributed to Bermuda Triangle. The disappearance of USS Cyclops, the U.S. Navy's largest and fastest fuel ship, marks the largest loss of life in the history of the U.S. Navy in a single incident. In February 16, 1918, the ship set out to sail from Brazil to Baltimore through the Bermuda region, carrying 10,800 tons of manganese ore, with about 309 crew members on board. This massive ship came into Barbados in early March and then promptly disappeared completely. An entire search of the area was put into action, but nothing was ever found. No remains of the ship or any crew members aboard have ever been found. The naval investigators also failed to find a definite cause for its disappearance, though there were a number of theories suggesting various reasons. Due to its mysterious disappearance, the massive crew, and the importance of the ship, this incident took a massive attention. Carroll A. Deering, a 5-mast commercial schooner, is one of the most written about maritime mysteries of the 20th century, due to the complete mystery around its abandonment. On January 31, 1921, Carroll A. Deering was found hard aground on the treacherous rocks of Hatteras Diamond Shoals, North Carolina. There were speculations that the vessel was involved in rum running. However, when the investigation team from Barbados reached the vessel after days of effort in the rough sea, what they found was a deserted ship with all crew members missing, along with the crew's personal belongings, ship's navigational equipment, log books, and life rafts, among others. Often known as Ghost Ship of the Outer Banks, the disappearance of Carroll A. Deering, along with few other vessels during the same time period in the Bermuda Triangle area, has been valuable information on the mysterious waters, but nothing could bring anyone any closer to solving this mystery. Reports suggest that as many as 9 vessels disappeared during this period, from the same region, none of which was ever heard from again. On November 29, 1925, SS Cotopaxi departed Charleston, South Carolina, for Havana, Cuba, with a cargo of coal and a crew of 32. On December 1, SS Cotopaxi radioed a distress call reporting that the ship was listing and taking on water during a tropical storm. The ship was officially listed as overdue on December 31. For almost a whole century the story was filled with enigma and many conspiracy theories, but, in 1985 an unknown shipwreck was found off St. Augustine, Florida, In 2020 it was identified as the remains of the SS Cotopaxi. In 1941, a Navy ship called the USS Proteus was carrying 58 passengers and a cargo of ore from St. Thomas to the east coast, when it suddenly vanished in the Bermuda Triangle. 1 month later, its sister ship, the USS Neurus, disappeared with 61 people along the same route. According to research by Rear Admiral George Van Deurs, USN, who was familiar with this type of ship from their service in the USN, the acidic coal cargo would seriously erode the longitudinal support beams, making these aging and poorly constructed colliers extremely vulnerable to breaking up in heavy seas. They were both sister ships of the USS Cyclops. On July 10, 1945, Thomas Arthur Garner, M3 USN, along with 11 other crew members, was lost at sea in a U.S. Navy PBM-3S patrol seaplane, bulletin number 6545, in the Bermuda Triangle. They left the Naval Air Station Banana River, Florida, at 7:07 p.m. on July 9, 1945, for a radar training flight to Great Exuma, Bahamas. Their last radio position report was sent at 1:16 a.m., July 10, 1945, with a latitude-longitude of 25.22 north, 77.34 west, near Providence Island, after which they were never heard from again. An extensive 10-day surface and air search, including a carrier sweep, found nothing. On December 5, 1945, the legend of the Bermuda Triangle began to take hold even more when the 5-plane squadron, Flight 19, with 27 men, set out on a training mission from their base in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, then flying over Grand Bahama Island, and eventually pivoting southwest to return home. But they never made back home. Along the way, the flight's leader, Lieutenant Charles C. Taylor, became paranoid when his compass failed, and he believed that the planes were moving in the wrong direction. He instructed his fleet to fly northeast, thinking he was heading toward Florida, but really just traveling deeper into the Atlantic. As the planes reached closer toward the Bermuda Triangle, their signals began fading. Eventually, all communication was cut and the planes were never seen again. The last thing recorded in the communications by Flight 19 passengers were eerie reports on their location. Everything looks strange, even the ocean. It looks like we are entering white water, we're completely lost, said one pilot. A rescue mission of 13 men was sent to search for Flight 19, but those men too, never returned. C-54 was a military version of the aircraft Douglas DC-4 and was capable of carrying 85 passengers. It left Bermuda on July 3, 1947, en route to Morrison AFB, Florida, under the command of Major Ralph B. Ward and 5 experienced crew. Right from the start, the flight started going off course, and apparently neither the pilot nor the navigator on board were aware of this. After a while, it suddenly made a course change and moved towards north and then southwest. As a result, now it was heading straight towards the eye of the storm. Only about a month before the flight, a general instruction was given to all the pilots to avoid thunderstorms, yet Ward flew the plane right into it and the navigator guided him to do so. The debris were finally found about 209 miles northeast of Florida. But the real question is, why did the C-54 get into the eye of the storm when it could have easily avoided it?